Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Woodstock, Georgia, it's time for Cherokee Business Radio. Now, here's your host.
Welcome to Cherokee Business Radio. Stone Payton here with you this morning, and today's episode is brought to you in part by Alma Coffee. Sustainably grown, veteran-owned, and direct trade, which means, of course, from seed to cup, there are no middlemen. Please go check them out at myalmacoffee.com and go visit their Roastery Cafe at 3448 Holly Springs Parkway in Canton. Ask for Leticia or Harry and tell them that Stone sent you. You guys are in for such a treat today. We've got a studio full. These gentlemen, so much energy before we even came on the air. I know we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to learn a lot. First up on Cherokee Business Radio this morning, please join me in welcoming to the broadcast and back to the Business RadioX microphone, the man himself with Audacity Marketing, Mr. John Cloonan. How you doing, man?
Doing great, Stone. This has been great fun to come back.
It's been too long.
11 years? Has
it been that? But it looks like we're both going to make it. Our businesses, I think we're going to make it.
Absolutely. So,
I have been invigorated and inspired since I've moved to the Woodstock community. One of the things I've had the pleasure of doing is become part of the Woodstock Business Club. It's a 4-minute walk from my home. And it's the second or third bar by the time I've walked that 4 minutes from my home. But at 8:30 in the morning, we drink Alma coffee. We don't hit the Reformation brew just yet.
I was going to say it's in the brewery, so you do have that opportunity.
Absolutely, and I make a point of doing that. But one of the things that I have thoroughly enjoyed, and I get a new shot in the arm. It's a big group, so it's pretty quick. Like when we introduce each other, John almost always stands on a table, stands on a bench, and always has something funny or exciting or different to say. So I'm really glad to be kind of back in your circle.
Oh, absolutely. And, part of the reason I stand on stuff is because I'm 5'7" tall. So, being a little short guy, I get that Napoleon thing going. So I have to make myself seen.
So Zach and I, we resemble that remark a little bit later on. We're going to get a chance.
We're fun size.
Right.
I like to say we're energy efficient.
Like that.
Energy efficient.
We get more done with less.
There you go.
So Audacity Marketing, mission, purpose, what are you out there trying to do for folks?
So Audacity is a full-service marketing agency, but we focus very specifically on better creativity through perspective. So, while, I'm an old white guy, I have partners who are diverse, and we focus on hiring diverse people and getting diverse clients because we, and me personally, but we as an organization truly believe that you get better creative and better ideas if you have people who from different backgrounds in the space. So we cross cultural, ethnic, age, every line you can cross, we cross it.
So was that a decision? Was that decision to operate in that fashion partially a product of this? I'll call it a movement of recent years, or did you get on that boat early?
I've been on that boat for a long time because as we were talking about earlier, I've been in marketing for a long time. And my first agency, you interviewed me when I had my first agency, Realize
See,
Marketing.
I did not remember that. So it was a different agency.
This is so I sold that agency shortly after the interview.
That's a successful
interview. The ground, huh?
Right, absolutely. But we sold that agency shortly after the interview, and then I refounded back last August. But I've always believed that. I've always believed that if you have a bunch of people in the room who all look alike, you're going to get a certain set of ideas.
Right.
But if you change that mix, you get different ideas and better creativity and just better results. And there's data that proves it. So it's a good business decision.
Now, did you, on this time around, did you decide to focus on an industry or a size or any kind of niche, or what decisions did you make in that regard?
I mean, we best serve B2B. and small to medium. And I define small to medium as $100 million or less. Now, we have some clients that are bigger than that.
So I'm small. My business is small. I don't know about you guys, Mike, Zach. These are our other guests this morning. Are you under 100 million, you guys?
I'd say we must be atom-sized then in your criteria.
We do work with a lot of startups, actually, and very like micro business. But, if they have to have a little money because we do like to get paid. Right. Funding is nice. But, overall, it's that business spectrum allows us to serve them effectively. We come in, we build the strategy, and then help with the execution. When you get larger than that, most of those organizations larger than that have a marketing team, and they don't need as much strategic help. So
what does, and it may be a loaded question, but I'm going to ask, it's my show, I'm going to ask it anyway.
Go to town.
Do it.
What does an engagement cycle look like? You're working with a small company, a Business RadioX. Like in our case, we've got 17 studios. We're in I don't know 29 markets total, but we're kind of a small team. We certainly don't have a vice president of marketing unless I'm it, but I also empty the trash around here. Walk us through kind of what an engagement might look like. I'm particularly interested in what happens on the front end.
Sure.
Yeah.
So there's we operate under two different kinds of engagements. One is just a project. Like you identify a need and we come and fill that need. An example might be you decide you need to redo your website. So we come in and do that. That's a small piece of what we do. A more common engagement is you, Stone, come to me and say, John, I need to make this change. I'm having this business problem.
You don't have to get theoretical. Let me give you a real one. Let me give you some free consulting here.
Absolutely. Go to town, man.
Again, it is my show, right?
Right.
So we're in 17, we have 17 physical studios. We want to be in 1,000.
Right.
Locally, I feel like I have got the shiznit, the thing you need. If you're local and you want to meet other local B2B people, inviting them to come on your radio show is a pretty cool way to meet people and build relationships.
Absolutely.
It works. It always works. It never doesn't work. When I'm trying to have a conversation with somebody in Pittsburgh, because I want someone in Pittsburgh to run a Business RadioX studio, I'm like every other poor schlub out there trying to figure out how do I get conversations in Pittsburgh. So that's like a real problem, challenge.
Absolutely.
Is that a good one just to kind of...
Yeah, that's a great one.
Okay.
So, we would look at, we would start that with, you have this business problem of you're trying to expand very quickly into a lot of markets in which you don't have physical presence.
Right.
Yes, sir. Fair assumption?
Yes.
Okay. So then looking at that is then we would build a target. So who are you trying to reach in Pittsburgh? Because it's not everybody.
Right.
It's a very specific demographic, psychographic, technographic profile. So people who look a certain way, if you will, from a business perspective.
Right.
And then we would build a plan as to how you might do that. Like, how do you reach that specific target? And the answer to that is, where does that target live? And that's across the digital and traditional space. So, digital's a big thing. Like, and you can find, honestly, you'll find 100 digital marketing agencies probably just here in Woodstock.
It's a crowded. Your business is crowded.
Yeah, you know,
or it feels that way.
Can I tell you why?
Yes, please.
Because you absolutely need no credential whatsoever to call yourself a marketer.
The Zach Stone Marketing Agency.
There you go.
I mean, we could do that this afternoon.
You could do that right now. And that's a differentiator for Audacity because, I have 25 years of marketing experience, both in corporate and agency. And I have a master's degree I have an MBA in marketing.
Oh, wow.
I've led global-sized organizations, multi-billion-dollar organizations in the marketing space. So that makes us a little different than, your young person who knows social media and decides to call themselves a digital marketer, because we can look strategically across the entire spectrum of marketing activity. So it's a little different, or it's a lot of different, really. Yeah.
So it occurs to me that even in that initial conversation where we're trying to figure out who they are, where they are, that we may have a preconceived notion. Then after talking it through with you a little bit, we say, you know what, that's not really who we're after at all. And then once you get that figured out, you got this whole, now how do we find them? What do we say to get their attention? What do we say to get there. So all of this is where your expertise, your experience base, and that's where all of this really comes into play, I would think.
Absolutely, because, it's interesting you talk about preconceived notion.
Yeah.
Because we just worked with a local roofer who has a slightly different take on the roofing business. Like they're into preserving rather than replacing your roof.
Oh, wow.
And so we were talking about an emotional connection to your home. So who has that? There are people who read home rags, who are very into safety and security and comfort. And those were the emotions we were trying to get after. So we were looking at, okay, how do we reach those people? Well, the home rags is a good place to start. But there's also broader campaigns. There's websites. Pinterest is big on the home decor side. So we were looking at those things as to how do you find these people? Now, of course, I have some, and again, because like you're saying, I've been at this for a few minutes.
Right.
I have some definite ideas as to how to reach certain demographic, technographic, psychographic profiles. But at the end of the day, some of it's just research. And knowing where to research and how to.
So even if it doesn't come immediately to you, you know how to set up the research to go get the answers that you need.
Yeah, because the data sources are not common in that space. There's not something. It's not something that
you don't just call a list broker and send them.
No, please don't call a list broker. You may have list brokers on the show.
There goes my list broker sponsorship.
There goes your list broker show, man. But don't call a list broker. But there's data sources available that are not as commonly known that will give you better profiling.
Right.
And then, of course, the digital space. I mean, the Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn social media algorithms are very powerful to reach a group if you know how to utilize them properly.
Right.
And there's a difference between I know how to put together an ad campaign than there is I know how to target that ad campaign effectively and how to run it such that Facebook particularly reaches the people you want it to reach.
Right. So like in other areas of life, do you find that success in a marketing campaign, a marketing strategy is really a moving target? This is a great strategy for now. And, let's all recognize 18 months from now, we may be doing something, 180 degrees out from what we're doing now because circumstances change.
Oh, absolutely. Because first thing is your business in 18 months is not going to be the same business it is today.
Right.
So your targets may change. You have different expansion opportunities. The trends in the market change. So this is it's a moving target. But there's certain principles that always are maintained. So you're going to do some of your activity is going to be the same, but it's going to be this nuance. The nuances will change. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. I got a question for you, and it touches on a pre-conversation that Zach and I had before we came on the air about what was the phrase I used? Eating your own cooking.
Yep.
So I'm curious.
And I followed that up by saying that's why you never trust a skinny cook. If they're not going to eat their own food, why eat theirs? That's
great insight, Zach.
Absolutely.
See, aren't you glad he's going to be on the show? We're going to learn a ton in a little bit. We're just chewing the fat right now. The learning segment of the show is coming up, guys. What was I going to say? It was really so how do you? When you go to market, are you at a point now where the phone just rings, or you can stroll down to the Woodstock Business Club and have a cup of coffee, and you're going to get plenty of business? Or do you find that you too have to be thinking through these things and making these adjustments for your own business?
Well, first thing is that as a marketing company, if your marketing doesn't look good, people don't find you credible.
Well, that makes sense. You can't be a skinny cook.
I can't be a skinny cook. Now, the downside to that right now is that we're a 10-month-old company.
Oh wow!
So we're still putting a lot of that in place. So, if you go out to the Audacity Facebook page, unfortunately, you're not going to see anything. It exists, but there's no content there yet because we've just finished building our content calendar. So, you go there next month, there'll be a pile. but there's, these things do take time to build. And that's something that I like to let the client know as well, is like, if we build you a program, it takes time and effort and resources to execute.
Right.
So, but you really do have to eat your own dog food. Like do we have, are we running a good business? Are we profitable? And do we have clients? Yeah, absolutely. Is that going, but a lot of that is based on networking and personal network. Well, eventually you have to scale beyond that.
Right. So what are you, because this is kind of it's a new endeavor for you. What are you enjoying the most, man? What are you getting having the most fun with?
Oh, wow. Bill, I'm a strategist. Like that,
right.
Deep in my heart of hearts, if you give me anything else to do, is I'm going to write you a program, and I'm going to show you why this is going to work. So like building those programs, executing on them, and then watching the results come in as expected or better is like, that's the love of my life right there. Don't tell my girlfriend that. But that's the part that really gets it gets me up in the morning is being able to look at a client and say, look, we built this program for you. We built the strategy. We helped you execute on it. And here's results. Because at the end of the day, marketing is about growing your business.
Right.
And so we're here to help companies grow their businesses. And if we're not seeing those results, it's a drag, honestly.
Well, I want to talk about results for a moment. Here at Business RadioX, we chose very early on not to try to fight the battle of getting a huge audience and then charging you a fee to tap into this audience. Mm-hmm. We built our whole thing around using the platform to build relationships. So our clients are looking for 10 more clients this year, not 10,000 more Facebook buddies, right? So in our world, the results, the metrics are very simple, straightforward. Did you meet 50 more people that you really needed to meet, and did 10 of those people write you checks? Mm-hmm. In your world, I suspect sometimes audience is an important metric in viewership and all that kind of stuff. Is that too just very case specific and part of that consultative piece for you? Yeah,
that's absolutely case specific, because there's really a couple different levels to this. One is brand building and brand awareness, right? Which is, and that's a pure reach play. How many people know Business RadioX?
Right.
And then, and that's a top of the funnel activity.
Right.
And then you go, the next level down is influencing decisions. How many people are engaging with your social media as an example, right?
Right.
So they may not necessarily be a customer, but they might influence a buy in the future, or they may become a future customer. And then the bottom of that funnel is actually lead gen. How many people did you get in the door who are potentially buyers? And in the B2B space, like, we don't generally measure on, once, that's sort of where the marketing piece ends and sales picks up, right?
Okay.
Because we're not going to, as an example, right? Our, using Audacity as an example, right? You're not going to buy a marketing program online clicking a button. Right. You're going to have to talk to a salesperson, which, these days is me.
Is you?
Sales. Yeah, I'm not much of a salesperson, but you are going to have to talk to me. So that's really where in the B2B space our measurement stops. Is we brought you a person who is qualified to purchase your product or service.
Got it. But some of those other things at higher up in the funnel, those are leading indicators, or you're getting traction all the way through, right?
I mean, and you have to, right? Because if you look at a funnel, like, you can generally, and this is on a business by business basis, you can look at different stages in the funnel and determine your success. So as an example, if you have a huge top of the funnel audience, but very few of them engage, you're very likely not to have very many at the bottom, right? So you need to make sure that your percentages kind of line up across the entire funnel, so that top of the funnel person who is aware of your brand, a portion of them eventually buy.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so if you run into that scenario, you may put more energy into that next phase. That why get them more in the top? Let's fix the middle.
Absolutely, right. And that's part of the consultative sell or the consultative service, because and I go back to that, the Stone and Zach marketing agency, right? Is, y'all may know how to get audience, right? And get views, but you may not know how to take those viewers and turn them engaged. And you may not know how to take that engaged group and make them convert. Mm-hmm. And there's strategies across that whole thing.
And you can't buy a gallon of milk on views. No,
it doesn't. Nope. I've
Kroger,
tried.
You try to tell Kroger, hey, we had 300,000 downloads.
Yeah,
they don't care.
I keep showing them my 10,000 Twitter followers, and they're like, those are great. But you
mentioned milk. If 10,000 people come into Kroger but don't buy anything, Kroger's not going to be open next month.
There you go.
Exactly.
That's exactly right. So for the Zacks, the Stones, we also have Mike Christensen, who is the voice monkey that we're going to talk to later. We're running these small businesses. Zach and I both have business partners. What are some telltale signs, some symptoms, or some milestones that suggest for me to get, Lee and I have a standing call, on Tuesdays at noon after the show. What am I looking for? What kind of things would we see in our business to say, you know what, Lee, we might want to take a look at getting some outside help? When do you know that it's maybe time to have that conversation?
I always like to think of Audacity as we're the last people you're going to talk to, right? So you've tried things. Right. Maybe you've run some Facebook marketing campaigns and they've fallen on their face. We've been brought in to turn around software product launches, as an example, with some very, very big companies, who launch software products and then say, oh, this didn't go anywhere. So, when you realize that you have a problem and you've either attempted to address it and failed, or you just don't have any idea, you're like, okay, how do we fix this? Because the asking the question to a point will cost you nothing, right? If like Stone, as an example, like you were saying, you want to if you called me up and said, hey, we're trying to get these 1,000 studios open. How do we do that? That first, hour or so of me just talking through that with you, it doesn't cost you anything.
Well, a couple of beers,
time.
Maybe, yeah.
No, I don't drink, but, coffee by the quart.
Okay.
You can bring me all the coffee you want, man. Because, powered by caffeine. But it's really understanding that I have a business problem and I've either tried stuff and it's failed, or I just don't even know where to begin.
Right.
Because marketing crosses almost every aspect of the business except for accounting.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Before we wrap, I want to make sure that our listeners know how to get in touch with you, have a conversation with you or somebody on your team. So whatever you feel like is appropriate, whether it's the LinkedIn or the Facebook or the email, phone, whatever you feel like is appropriate.
Sure. I think the best way to reach out to us is there's a contact form on our website, audacity.marketing. It is not audacity.marketing.com. It is audacity.marketing. And you can actually reach me direct, John, at audacity.marketing. I have, we are still a relatively small company. We do have some team members, but if I'm not the person you need to talk to, I'm the traffic coordinator, if you will. So John at audacity.marketing or audacity.marketing.
Fantastic. Man, I am so glad we're getting a chance to reconnect after all this time. It's been an absolute delight having you in the studio. Keep us posted. Let's have you come in on some rhythm. I'd love for you to come in and just kind of get us, I don't know, maybe we should do like the marketing minute or something.
Oh, I'd totally be down with that. That'd be super fun.
Yeah.
So.
And I think it might be fun, because I know you have a lot of local clients. It might be fun to have you and a local client or two, like a special episode, and we'll spotlight their businesses and we'll learn about that. But I'd love to maybe, and also just hear about how you guys work together.
Sure.
So put some thought into that, and we'll make that happen if you like.
Absolutely, Stone, and super appreciate being invited back on the show after, like I said, 11 years.
I know I had black hair back then. I think.
Yeah, you did, and I think I had hair.
You had hair.
So it's
all right. So once again, there's points of contact again.
Yep. John at audacity.marketing or Audacity.marketing is our website.
All right. Hey, man, how about hanging out with us while we visit with our other guests?
Absolutely.
All right. Next up on Cherokee Business Radio, we have with us, with Mileshko, Mr. Zach Yokum. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. And may I say, I'm so excited to go in the middle because with the name Zach Yokum, I'm normally going last, alphabetically speaking. So very excited.
It was elementary school. You were like the last one to get the desk.
Oh, yeah.
And the whole
yeah.
bit. So what'd you learn in that last segment, man? What'd you take away from that?
Well, I am so excited to have John on the show because working with marketing agencies is what we love to do because we're the content creators that help fuel their campaigns. So I will probably be giving you a call and being, hey, what content are you creating for your clients
I love that.
you can do locally?
I think I have some commission slips here in the file cabinet. I'll hand them both. No, it does happen in the studio a lot, right? And I was sharing with you guys, I'm never very strategic about this, but because we're all about supporting and celebrating local businesses, it's not at all uncommon for some marvelous relationships to get forged in this little 10 by 15 room. So that's marvelous serendipity. Tell me more. What are you guys out there trying to do for folks? And before you get too deep into it, you got to tell us why it's called Mileshko.
Well, Mileshko is the name of our founder, Tom Mileshko. If you've never heard it before, it's because it's a Belarusian last name.
Oh, my.
So you actually said it correctly, too. So props. Because we get the whole gamut. Mileshko, Mileshkio. Yeah, so props to you for saying it correctly. But in Belarus, it's kind of like Smith. So here it's foreign, but over there they're like, oh, Mileshko.
Okay, sure.
But that's the name. And the reason we stuck with it is Tom has been in business here in the Atlanta area for 40 years. He was a photographer. And so I came on in 2012 when he was kind of noticing the industry was going toward hybridization versus specialization when it came to content creation. Because you don't just go to one person to get photography and one other person get videography and another person get graphic design. Sometimes you just need an agency that does all of them. So it can be kind of that one-stop shop. And so Tom had these wonderful relationships he can cultivated over 40 years. And so we thought, hey, let's stick with Mileshko. It's catchy. You don't hear it often. And it sticks to our thing of creating that relationship long-term. It's all in the name.
All right. So going from what I learned in the last segment, demographic, psychographic, technographic. I'd not heard that word before. And who are these folks and where are they hanging out, the folks you're trying to work with?
So the big thing we bring is often when you think of a creative, you think of that person with the tousled hair, ripped jeans, who's going to tell you, all right, I'm going to tell you about the feeling of melancholy as we create this campaign for you. And what Tom realized early on is you have these corporations that have deadlines. They need you to deliver on time. And so taking this right brain creativity and really combine it with the left brain of productivity. Right. So our target market is bigger corporations that aren't just trying to create something. They need it created at scale. So when you think training media, all right, they don't need just one 1-minute video. They need 60 1-minute videos that teach you about a process. So our big niche is finding how do we give them something creative but at scale. So our target audience is things like we do a lot of work with Chick-fil-A, Wellstar, which is a big medical conglomerate.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, you might have seen one or two
Chick-fil-A
clinics.
too.
Yeah. But, we had to diversify so we could serve people on Sundays as well. Right. But that is what we found to be a huge need because you can go to someone that can, all right, we'll make you the one commercial, the one video, but what when you need 80 of those things produced in the same amount of time? So our big thing was figuring out how do we do this efficiently while still giving you something creative.
So a long, long time ago, when I did have black hair and something a little closer to a real job, I was in the training consulting arena. Mm-hmm. I sold consulting, specifically change management consulting. So, and my wife still has a real job. She's a change management grand poobah or something at IBM. But we're from that. Holly and I both are from that training consulting world. And yeah, it strikes me like that must be a really great source of business, a revenue stream for you doing these training, and not all of it might have been leadership development and change and sales like we were, but some of it's like compliance. Like you have to have, well, I don't know if you have to have videos, but you have to prove that you've checked these boxes on sexual harassment and probably diversity and inclusion and all this stuff, right?
Yep. Get the legal team to approve that, yes, we have said this sentence, so our butts are covered.
Right. So you find yourself creating a high volume of video for that kind of thing. So is the consultative creative process as involved as it might be for like on the agency side of stuff, or does that kind of come a little bit pre-cooked and for you guys, it's more about making sure the lighting is right and you got people who can execute on getting it done?
Well, like John mentioned, a lot of times a client will come to us with a problem, such as we need training material, and they may not even know what that exactly looks like. So we will consult on how can we best execute on getting you this material. And then we will very readily say, and here's our friend John who will tell you how to market it and get this great material out there.
Okay, so you team up with people like organizations like John's you don't try to be that too.
Right. So what we kind of describe is we will help you create the best painting in the world. We'll help you source the paint, make sure that the canvas looks really good, that it represents you, it's nice and branded, and then we'll hand it to someone who can then market that painting so lots of people want to buy it. So we will give you the material that makes you look good, and then someone can come in that we'll partner with, and they'll make sure that they can get it to as many people as possible.
Got it.
So we try to make John's job easy because we'll give him something that looks so good that he'll be able to market it to whoever needs to.
Well, and this is a growing beast, right, John? These venues, these platforms that you capitalize on, they are ravenous. They're hungry for food, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, social media is a content suck, right?
Oh yeah, content is everywhere,
and it's according to the platform too, right? Like Twitter's the worst. You have to be on Twitter. Like on average, I tell clients that they have to be on Twitter minimum 5 times a day.
Holy cow.
No, that sounds about right.
I'm not, incidentally.
Well, and videos everywhere.
Wow.
I mean, I'm sure you've gone to the gas station pumping your gas, and then all of a sudden, hey, welcome to GSTV. What? There's video on my gas pump now?
Yeah,
but
I have seen that.
Need for content, I mean, that's how you're getting eyeballs now is through video. I mean, the stats are out there that by 2024, over 82% of the internet is just going to be video.
Wow.
Shifting from text and photo, it'll be video. So there's such a need to have this content. And oftentimes you need a lot of it very quickly. Like you mentioned your Facebook page. Right now, there's not a lot of content. Well, you need this quickly and you may need it at scale. So we try to work with companies. All right, you need enough content to fill a Facebook page for a month. All right, how can we strategically and cost efficiently film stuff? Kind of like what you were saying about this show. Hey, we're going to have this one recording session. You may have content for 8 months.
So I will say this: having a radio show is a content factory.
Exactly.
And for me, and I don't have the formal training and the expertise that you guys in that kind of thing, but I will tell you, just hanging out and talking about people's businesses comes easy to most people. And then, before you know it, by tomorrow, we've got this 45-minute, 60-minute. It's been, I think it's pretty darn good content, and we're just hanging out chewing the fat. Right. And it is, and I suspect video has its version of that. Now, for me, we feel real good about what we're doing in terms of radio. I am very reluctant for me to try to do much in this room during this experience with video because I'm concerned about the lighting and all that jazz. But I bet you there's a place for it. Maybe not trying to replace what you're doing, but you get the visual element. And I do know that we've had people take this, the audio from the shows that we've done and make it into a video, right? So there's a ton of stuff you can do with it. But it's a hungry beast. We got to have the content to feed it. I asked John earlier what he found the most rewarding, what he was enjoying the most, and I do want to hear that from you. But I'll also ask you what are you finding to be the biggest challenge when it comes to either getting the client or working effectively with the client or getting them the results they need. What's the biggest challenge you think?
I'd say the challenge is educating the client into what is actually going to work for them because they will come and say, hey, we want you to create this 45-minute video of a guy talking.
Yeah.
All right. That might have been great.
And our boss is really smart.
Right. And he may be a subject matter expert and can talk authoritatively for 45 minutes.
Right.
But people will consume it better if it's in 30-second increments. So I tell people it's the YouTube effect, to where we try to help our clients think in smaller bite-sized bits, because no one will watch a 40-minute video. They'll see that length and they're like, next thing in the feed. But funnily enough, if you make 41-minute videos,
they'll watch all 40 maybe.
They'll sit there and go, hey, I like that first one. I'll watch the next one. So it's kind of like popcorn. You will eat 100 pieces of popcorn without thinking about it. But would you eat that same if it was on one giant corn cob?
Yeah, probably not. Mm-hmm. So I got to know, man, what is your backstory? How did you find your way into this?
Well, I'm up here in the north because I'm from down in Fayetteville. So I'm excited to be up here in the Woodstock area on the other side of the clock of Atlanta. But I actually, I've been holding a camera since I was 2 years old. So this has always been something I've wanted to do. I didn't do it well. It looked like the Blair Witch Project because I was holding the camera the wrong way and my eyeball was in the lens. But that was my first film. And then I went to film school for college.
Oh, you've got like legit credentials. You're a little bit like Cloonan.
Well,
Cloonan's got degrees too.
As legit as a film degree is. But I learned the craft and then realized really early on that you can go do Hollywood and, it's kind of a feast and famine kind of life. But I wanted to have a family. I actually know my kids, know my wife. Right. And so I found that in corporate video, you get to use all these technical skills. You get to use that creativity, but it's consistent work and you get to be home at 5 o'clock. And so there's such a need, but I just realized, all right, it's not the glitz and glam of Hollywood, but it's all the consistency and creativity of what I want. So that's a bit of a background.
Fun. Okay, so you're all the way down in Fayetteville. Your business partner, Nathan?
Yeah, Nathan Fowler. He runs up the photography side of things.
He's out here in Woodstock.
Yep, he's right here. It's like right where Woodstock and Canton meet. But you'll see him there at the Copper Coin coffee shop most days.
Well, that's where Cloonan just came from.
I was going to say, you'll see me there pretty much every day.
He's a fueled by caffeine kind of guy as well.
Yeah, I'll introduce him to Bizarre Coffee in Canton too.
Okay, well, he probably knows. He's our coffee connoisseur on the team. So he told me about Alma Coffee as well that you started the show off with. So he's our coffee guy.
Well, it's typical. The Fayetteville guy drives up here for the show, and the Woodstock guy.
Well, it's because Nathan is in New York, actually. We say that we were working mobile before it was cool because we never really invested in a brick and mortar studio because we found, hey, let's go to the client, film on their turf, and use their own environment as part of the marketing in what we're filming. Show them in their space. They don't have to come to us. So Nathan's up in New York shooting some stuff for Chick-fil-A right now. So he couldn't be here, but so I got the short end of the stick.
That's a pretty good excuse, shooting some stuff for Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, we'll take it.
So day to day, though, you're not in Fayetteville. You're on site. You're on location a lot.
We tell people, you got 285 all around Atlanta, so we serve people around the clock of Atlanta. So it's very rare that I'm actually working from home. So I'll be up in Canton one day. I'll be over in Logansville. I'll be right by the airport. So we're all over serving clients around Atlanta.
So your work, not unlike John's, and a little bit like ours before we actually launch a custom show, there's this consulting kind of educational component to your work. That, you described it because I asked you, what's a challenge area. But, you got to get that right or the whole thing crumbles, right? Right.
Well, our big thing is we want to make the content production easy for the client. And sometimes making it easier for them is educating them on, hey, what's going to be the best method for this? You may have come in and asked, but once we understand what you're trying to do, we may offer, hey, based off of our experience, we can consult and say, here's a method we think will work even better. So I'll take it for instance. We had a beauty products company come to us and say, hey, we need this commercial because our products are going to go into Walmart. And they wanted to have this 10-minute segment where the owner was going to come on and talk about their journey. And we consulted and said, hey, where's this going to live? Oh, well, on Facebook. All right, well, then 10 minutes is already out because no one is going to watch 10 minutes of anything on Facebook. Wow. So instead, we were able to say, hey, based off of now what we know you're trying to do, may we suggest a video that's more in like the 30-second to minute range? And let's not worry about your story. Let's just talk about what the consumer, like what's the benefit the consumer is going to get? You can tell your story on your website. So we can include that at the end of this thing, go to the website and check out the full story. And so then they were able to take that raw video that we gave them, work with a marketing agency, and now the word is out that, hey, you can now buy this product at Walmart.
Now, do you find yourself writing copy, or is that more John's thing, or you guys might collaborate on a client and figure out who should be writing copy and that kind of stuff?
So we will absolutely admit when we are not the best fit for someone, to where if they need extensive copywriting, then we'll say, hey, may we introduce you to our friends at insert marketing agency name.
Right.
But if it's a matter of, hey, they've given us this training material and it just needs to be modified to fit better for video, because there will be a sentence that looks fantastic written that you would never say in person. And so we can help consult.
Like I would write, that dog won't hunt. And then you might say, yeah, Stone, maybe you ought to use a different phrase here in New York.
Well, a lot of times.
And I bet our voiceover guy has some things to say about that.
A lot of times it's taking corporate ease and translating
usually it's coming the other way, huh?
Well, someone will say,
see, that's refreshing. Maybe that dog won't hunt would be great.
No, I would say make it more colloquial, make it more approachable, because a lot of times it'll be like, well, the organization's fulfillment of the supply chain reorganization was quite no. Just say, hey, the trucks get there sooner.
Right.
That's what the audience will understand.
Right.
So it's helping the lawyers and the really highfalutin legal people translate it into more layman terms.
Yeah. All right. So before we wrap, near-term plans. Where are you and Nathan going to be putting your energy in the next, I don't know, 9 to 18 months? Is there a focus area or two? Growth, scaling, what? So
right now it's just finding a lot more of those. So you mentioned 100 million plus clients. We find that since we're creating content at scale, we're targeting those $1 billion plus clients that, hey, they've realized that their need for production is beyond what even just an in-house group can do.
Right.
So they need, we can serve as that pressure relief valve we can make it efficient and at scale. So we're looking for those kind of partnerships, which there's more and more of those companies moving here to Cherokee County. It's exciting.
Isn't that exciting? So there is the prospect of doing that work, and there's the work of getting that work.
Yep.
So you may have to have like this 3-layered chess conversation with John or whomever that you trust, because you can't be the skinny cook. You got to use all of your skills
exactly
and wares to get, because you got to get in conversation with it. So it's not the CEO of a gazillion dollar company. Who are you talking to and trying to have a conversation with in those companies? And how, I'm not saying we can help, but how can we help? You got some pretty smart folks in the room here.
Well, you talk about the demographic, technographic, like we found that we can best help marketing directors, content producers, those people that are in these corporations.
Okay, internal marketing. Okay.
Yeah, they're tasked with, you need to create all this content, and they may have the option to go to an internal team. But very often we found that those internal teams are running around like chickens with their heads cut off.
They got enough
because they've got so much going on. But hey, yet we still need this marketing campaign next week. So we can serve as, hey, we're the pinch hitter. Bring us in when you need that extra work done. When it's pouring, you're normally used to it raining, but when it's pouring, we can come in and serve as that scalable option.
Got it. So you got some job security, man. You got plenty of work ahead of you.
We're excited to be able to serve.
Fantastic. All right. If somebody who's listening would like to reach out and have a conversation with you or Nathan or someone else on your team, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, you said eat your own cookies. So I direct them to our cookies, which is our website. That's Mileshko.com. That's Mileshko.com. And you'll see all of our work there. And if you like something, we can make that for you.
Marvelous. Well, thanks so much for joining us, man. And I am delighted to get you and John together. And I look to see some great things coming from that. Hey, how about staying with us? We got one more guest that we're going to visit with.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. All right. Y'all ready for the headliner? He has been so, the undercard is now over. This guy has been so patient. He's the only pro in the room.
Well, you saved him for last because he's gonna show us all out.
He's gonna nail, like at the comedy club, right? You suffer the.
We're done, man.
Yeah.
So Zach and I might as well just go home. So.
All right. Next up on Cherokee Business Radio, please join me in welcoming to the program the voice monkey, Mr. Mike Christensen. How you doing, man?
I'm great. Sorry I've been so quiet. I'm learning so much from these two guys, and I'm soaking it all in.
Well, I never expected that, candidly. I thought he'd be interjecting the whole show, or even once in a while, in a world, or doing one of those little things. But no, I guess the pros don't really do that. They wait till it's lights, camera, action on them. So, Mike, voice monkey. So you must do voiceover kind of work. How in the world does one decide to go and it strikes me as like, how do you know if you're good at cliff diving? Like, how does one decide to become a voice monkey?
Well, the best way to learn cliff diving is just to jump. And that's kind of what I did with this. I worked in veterinary medicine for a long, long time. The initial plan in my life was to be a vet. And when that didn't work out, I didn't quite know what to do after that. So I kind of floundered around for a little while, worked in radio here in town at Eagle 106.7, which was WYAY. I did that. I found out that I loved it. Radio is not a job. It's something fun to do.
Amen.
And, after we, got let go from there, found some people that used to work there. They did voiceover. They helped train me, work on my demos, got me into that world. That was back in 2012. So I've been doing it ever since.
And so you're doing that. You can, I guess, do that largely at home, right? You probably have some setup more sophisticated than the one we're using right now for this conversation. But
well, whatever works at home. Some people, you have varying degrees of home studios that you can make. What we talked about before is like anybody can call themselves a marketer. Well, anybody can buy a microphone off Amazon and call themselves a voiceover actor. It takes a lot more than that. There's training, equipment, anything along. Anybody can just read a script and, I'm reading it. But to really connect with the copy and really get the message across, it takes a lot of work.
Now, do you find yourself doing, like we were talking about earlier, commercials, training videos? Because going back to you, Zach, sometimes you don't really want Stone doing the commercial, even though it might be about Business RadioX. You want the voice monkey saying the smart stuff, right?
Depending on who your audience is and who you're trying to appeal to.
Got it. Okay, so are you doing training videos, that kind of stuff?
I have done them. I've done training videos for new employees, safety videos. I did one for a car wash up north where it's, don't jump in the car wash when it's on, that kind of thing.
But that's fun.
There's a pro tip.
Right.
But, anybody can do a video, but what I always tell people is you want to make that impression the best that you can make with your clients. And hiring a pro voice is one of the best ways you can do that. You can have a great video, you can have a great marketing campaign, but if you got a guy going, let's see, we got this and that, it just...
I don't know. Even your sounds good. Even his ums and ahs sound cool.
Sounds good to me.
He's got that Morgan Freeman
That's right.
Yeah. I get what you're saying, though. So I wonder if you could not potentially suffer, and suffer is maybe a little bit of a strong word, but in my world, there's this. Mm-hmm. There's this in a conference or trade show environment, which is an incredibly great way to do a trade show. I mean, I'm looking through a very biased lens. And there's everybody and their brother, including my nephew, who has a podcast. So in some ways, the podcasting movement has been great for us because it at least gets the conversation going. But then we're tasked with having a conversation about the difference between trying to do it yourself, or be part of the Business RadioX network. It strikes me, I haven't looked, but it wouldn't surprise me to learn that on some of these freelance kind of sites, that there would be people who present themselves as voiceover actors, and they may not be voice monkey caliber. Is it right?
Well, there's room for everybody. There's tons of work out there. People say, "Oh, you're a voice actor. Or you on cartoons? Are you on what have I heard you on kind of thing. But if you listen to every TV ad, every radio ad, every podcast, every thing that you hear a voice, that's a voice actor doing it.
Right.
And it's not just a national commercial for Budweiser or Coca-Cola or whoever. It's training videos. It's explainer videos. I do a lot of those where, this is our product and it's animated and it's that kind of thing. There's YouTube. There's, podcast intros. I've done a lot of those.
I hadn't thought about that. Okay.
There's like you said, there are tons of podcasts out there.
Right.
Hundreds of thousands of podcasts where somebody sets up a microphone in their garage and they want to talk about movies or whatever they're interested in, and that's certainly fine. But to stand out, you need to grab them as soon as they tune in. They want to hear the subject, but then they don't want to hear you clicking your tape player in front of the microphone and playing a song. They want to hear something produced and sounds good.
And coming right out of the box like that, right, guys? I mean, that sort of sets the tone, right? If you've got a Mike Christensen voiceover, and then if you're talking about trout fishing or whatever, it's a better package, right?
It's a hook, right? I mean, that's you've got to create the hook no matter what. And a voiceover like Mike's is a good way to do that.
I say for the recorded version of this episode, just have Mike redo the opening.
There you go. I'll have you do that.
I'm not
live
saying
read.
That's a great idea. I'm just saying.
I'll have Mike do the live read for Alma, and then I'm gonna send Harry and Leticia a bill.
There you go.
But with the technology now, I mean, what you're set up here,
right,
is something that anybody can get.
It's getting easier and easier.
It sounds fantastic. Right? It is. It's getting the barrier to entry is low technology wise.
Mm-hmm.
It's not super cheap, and I've built my own recording booth at home, so it sounds good. And you need to have the environment is more important than most anything. If it sounds the greatest microphone in the world sounds terrible in your bathroom.
Yep.
So you need to have an acoustically treated space, and especially over the last year when everybody couldn't get together,
right?
You had to be at home. There was a rise in home studios, and I've been working from home for years. So last year was one of my best years because I'm home, I'm ready to go. Hire me, let's go. As opposed to hold on, I got to build something, I got to figure out how to do this, and I'm calling people, and so I've got it all set up at home, and that's great.
So even in every business that I've talked to over the last 6 or 8 interviews, there's some sort of onboarding process, initial consultation, discovery, the different names for it. Is that true in your world too? Do you also, or by the time it comes to you, is it pretty much, this is exactly what I want upbeat tempo, I want these words, so by the time it gets to you, that's pretty, maybe it's even coming from John or from Zach, an agency, or is that how it is for you?
Generally, when it gets to me, it's at the end of the process.
Okay.
The creative is already done. They know their vision. They have the script. They know what they want.
Right.
They send out the script either to agents or on freelance sites, or I have connections with other production studios. They send me scripts directly to audition. They say, we want, upbeat, conversational, whatever
hell,
it is.
I never even thought about that. So you could send it out. They'll send it to Mike and 2 other people, and it's just, and it's probably not even personal or a reflection of the quality of your work. It might be we like that other guy's accent more for what we're doing today. Mm-hmm. So there's an audition thing aspect.
It's a real just, if your voice is what they want that day,
just is what it is.
Then you got it. If it's not, you don't. And it's nothing personal.
You can't take it personally.
Right. Unless you're really horrible at it and do something. They want conversational and you come in like, in a world. And they go, no, we don't want that. But if it is, it just kind of, you match it up and you go, oh, okay, I got the job. And I mean, there's companies I've auditioned for years. You finally book something. And as long as they keep sending you auditions,
then you're okay.
Then they have faith in you. They know, like, okay, let's give this guy more chance. If they stop, then you got a problem.
And I suspect there's not a terrible degree of hard cost overhead in knocking out a brief audition. It's just part of your business model. Like we pay rent here. It's just part of our business model.
Mm-hmm. Right? Everything leading up to the audition is where all the cost is. All the classes I've taken and continue to take. Zoom classes now, especially over the last year, have really been able to connect me with some higher end coaching and things like that.
Right.
Building your space at home, the equipment, the microphone, the editing software, learning how to use the software to make yourself sound good or sound better. I usually just send raw files because my recording space is so good.
Right.
Not to brag, but it's one of those things where a lot of the cost people don't see. So we talked about you can't go to Kroger and buy things with, here's all my followers I've got. We have a joke in the voiceover world where they say, oh, you'll get exposure for this.
Don't you
and
hate
it's like I can't pay my mortgage with exposure.
Any artist who hears that just dies inside.
Yes, creatives of all kind, because we're in the creative space, and it's like, well, we have this great project, and if you help us with this, you'll get great exposure. I'm like, that's great. Are you going to pay my mortgage with that?
I can't pay my rent with exposure.
I'd like to keep my car. That'd be cool. Yeah.
Well, I mean, exposure is good to a certain point.
Of course.
Because it could get you other clients. They get you out there.
It's brand reach at some level.
It is. But at the same time, you're right. You do need to get paid at a certain point. And I've never seen more people offer to pay less than with voiceover. Mm-hmm. I had one the other day where they said, we want you to read, I think it was like 2,000 words. We want it this way. And they were very strict about we want it. Bum, 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 bum. We want offers less than $5. And it's
$5,
and that's kind of the thing where I copy it and send it to all my friends and we make fun of it because it's and then they go, what do you mean you're going to charge me this much, these hundreds of dollars? And it's so easy for you to do. And it's because you don't see a lot of what went into getting me to this point.
Yeah,
and your training.
Right.
Because I'm the guy who sends out the auditions, and I have so much respect for the voiceover artist because I know you're taking that intentionality and putting that into everything you read.
And I love doing it. I mean, it's something that I'm able to work from home and kind of hang around my family, and it's great as long as they stay out when I'm recording.
Quiet on the set.
Yeah, there's plenty of times my recordings have messed up with, Daddy, can we go? Like, no. Or the garage door goes up
it's
or
authentic.
something.
It's authentic. No.
Yeah, it's right. It's real life. But yeah, it's fun to work from home, and a lot does go into it. And
so when it comes to surprise and delight and just doing good work, and we all know here that one of the most marvelous sales tools you can have is doing good work. Are there some things that you try to do or not do so that you are genuinely received as kind of a cut above the rank and file there?
Customer service to me is very important. A fast turnaround is important.
Turnaround, okay, all right.
Because like I said, a lot of times I'm at the end of the rainbow when it comes to a project. I don't want them waiting on me to turn something around. I want it 24 hours, and I'm usually less than 20, usually the same day. I'll get it done and sent back out.
Wow. I mean, to me, that seems great. That would be important.
Spectacular, yeah.
A lot of people, you don't want them waiting on you. I don't want to be a diva. That's one of the things, like if you're difficult to work with, that spreads faster than any good you do for anybody. If you're like, I'm not going to do that for less than this much, or I'm, no. That your directions are wrong. It needs to be read this way. Or just to be difficult with somebody. Why? Why would you do that? There's so much work out there, and there's so many people who are voice actors out there that are better than I am or worse than I am. You got to find the voice. Why be difficult? Be happy, be quick, follow up, be nice. It's like Patrick Swayze said in Roadhouse, just be nice.
I love that movie.
It doesn't cost you anything to be nice, and it could earn you a whole bunch of business.
Or just communicative. That's something I've always valued in a voiceover artist is just answering my email. And it's the irony, right? Because they're a voiceover artist. Talk to me.
No, I don't. I hate when people just kind of ghost you and you're like, well, what do you think about this? And there's nothing out there. Please just write me back. It doesn't take that long especially if I see you've looked at my message and then you don't reply. It's like, come on.
So your marketing for your services, is there much outbound stuff, or have you kind of got things set up and you get some inbound activity from the Zachs and the Johns of the world?
Well, for many years, I did the kind of let business come to me model. I was on what's called a pay-to-play website where you pay a yearly fee and you get auditions from that. And I booked work through that. It was fine. But over the last few years, I've kind of realized that, no, you need to go out and you need to earn that work. You need to go out and get that work. I worked with a marketing guy last year. His name is Corey Disson. He does voiceover marketing, on social media marketing. We worked on branding. That's where we kind of had the voice monkey thing kind of come out. I got the logo.
Gotta say, that got my attention. I thought that was cool.
I like it.
It's a lot of fun.
Is that the veterinary background?
No, it's a funny story. I used to watch a show on Discovery Channel called Fast and Loud with Gas
Monkey Garage.
Right, exactly.
I know it well.
And every time he would sell a car, he would go, Gas Monkey gets paid. So every time I would get a check in the mail, I would make a joke and go, Voice Monkey gets paid, just haha. And then it just kind of stuck.
That's great.
And it's one of those things where, like, yeah, I can be serious about it, but I also like to play around and have fun. And so we said, you need to want to stick with the Voice Monkey thing. And we did, and built a website and got everything put together and started a marketing campaign where it's, a lot of it was just, kind of monkey puns and things.
A voice that appeals.
Right. Yes. I need to write that down.
It said in his bio that he was good at puns. We didn't go there yet. Or barbecue. We'll have you back when you're talking about barbecue and puns.
I've been tame purposely.
We'll have a whole episode dedicated to barbecue and puns and dad jokes.
Oh, dude, you want to go dad jokes? Hey, let's go, man. I got 18 years of dad jokes.
So the marketing. So you are kind of getting out there, building. I mean, still in all these businesses, I mean, relationships are just important. They're so key, and that's why the way you approach being communicative and not ghosting people. This is important.
It's 100% relationships. If people don't know you're there, they can't hire you. Right. So you need to get out on social media. I even have a TikTok, which I'm kind of embarrassed about, but it's there. You never know where work is going to come from. I've got fishing poles and tons of different. It used to be you had to have an agent, and that's how you got your work. They were the gatekeepers to all the good jobs, and they still give you good, the kind of higher end auditions. But it's still nothing prevents you from firing off a bunch of emails or calling production companies or creative directors or wherever you can find a little niche and exploit it and go in there and find this, find that. I've done spec commercials. I've written them and recorded them, and I've had a friend do a video for them and things like that. And you put that out there, and people go, oh, man, that's pretty cool. Who is this guy? And then they get that relationship going and things like that. So,
all right. So for you, what's next, and how can we help?
Just getting my name out there is like I said, exposure. Is the best thing.
You guys can't see it, but we've got some air quotes with that word exposure.
A lot of that helps, with your reads. If you do, you see me waving my hands around. That's what I do anyway when I'm in the studio because it brings more authenticity to the read as opposed to just standing here with my hands in my pockets going.
Well, you see that
that's boring.
In Pixar when they're doing the voiceover, they're there like.
Oh yeah,
gesticulating all over the place.
That's helps. Real voice acting. Yeah, where you're waving around, you're yelling, you're screaming, and I've done things like that for video games and things where I've had to turn the mic down a little bit, back way off the mic, and yell, and then I had to take a day to recover.
I hadn't thought about that. Video games is another.
Isn't video games is huge? Isn't it like the number one consumer of voiceover?
It doesn't pay real well, and it's a lot of stress. On
a lot
your
of
voice.
indie stuff.
Because a lot of it's yelling and a lot of it's like, okay, you have to die 17 different ways. And you're screaming and getting stabbed.
What does your family think when they're here?
Funny thing is, I've done a couple of things to where I really let it go. And they didn't hear me. Because I'm kind of in the closet off in the other part of the house. And I come out like, you guys okay? Did you hear that? And they're like, no. Like, I was just getting my arm chewed off by a zombie. You didn't hear that? And I'm in there screaming my head off. Like, no. We didn't hear it. They don't pay attention, so it's fine.
That's funny. All right, where can our listeners get in touch with you and have a conversation with you about these services?
The best way to find me is my website is thevoicemonkey.com. Because voicemonkey.com was already taken, so I had to get with the makes it sound official.
I love it. Well, thanks for coming and hanging out with us.
Thanks for having me. This has been awesome.
Yeah. All right, until next time, this is Stone Payton for our guest today and everyone here at the Business RadioX family saying we'll see you next time on Cherokee Business Radio.